A very good evening to all my dear students. Once again, I welcome you all for today's class. Good evening, Navneet Maurya, Santosh Kumar, Sahil Kumar, Geeta, Deepika, everyone. Welcome to today's class. Harsh Mishra, Anubhav, everybody. Welcome to the classroom. So a new day, a new start. Today we'll be starting a new chapter, that is share capital and debentures. Good evening, Mr. Sri Kumar, Prerna, everybody. So as promised, I will be taking your test of chapter prospectus, that is private placement. Thank you so much, Harsh Mishra. Even I'm equally, the happiness is mutual on my side also. I'm so happy to see my students back again in the class. So that's great. Thank you so much. Miss Harsh Kaur, good evening. Jaya Manoja, everybody, welcome to the class, children. So as promised, we will be doing a quick recap as well as important questions related to private placement, but we'll do it after 8 o'clock because today the session is for share capital and debentures. So we will first start the share capital and debentures because we're going to start a new day, a new chapter. So we will first begin that. And towards the ending part of the class, as promised, I will take up your doubts also, if any, in the private placement. And also, I'll take a quick test of yours because I have certain questions which I want you to practice with. Thank you so much, Harsh Mishra, for writing such kind words. Even I am equally blessed to have students like you. Thank you, child. And I'm glad that you feel motivated in the session. So that's wonderful. All right. So without wasting any time, let's quickly start a new chapter, that is share capital and debentures, chapter number 4 of Companies Act 2013. Now, the word share capital and debentures, though the chapter sounds very technical, even if you go through the module, it seems as if something is really, really tough. After prospectus, we are entering into share capital. But before starting, before even moving ahead, just with the name of this chapter, share capital and debentures, I want to tell you one thing, that we are talking about the same share capital which you have been hearing the words since class 11th and 12th. You all are commerce students. You all are very well versed with the word share capital. So share capital and debentures is the terminology that we have been hearing in accounting since class 11th, in CA Foundation. Intermediate, we are doing questions related to share application, money, allotment of shares and other things. But here we will be understanding the legal aspect of this. Section 43 to 72 of Companies Act, as well as the company's rules. What are they going to tell us about the share capital? That is what we're going to learn. But remember that this chapter do find you will see the terminology is a little tough or it's getting a little high, but it's the same thing that you have been going through. Share capital, the shares issued at premium, one of the very important question in accounts. उसकी theory यहाँ पे दी हुई है. Bonus shares, rights shares. So अभी हमने पिछले chapter में we were studying about prospectus. A public company can go for bonus shares, rights shares. Even a private company can go for that. That is the simplest way of raising capital, by issuing bonus shares and rights shares. In this chapter, we'll be understanding what is the procedure to be followed for issuing bonus shares to the employees, how the rights shares to the existing shareholders can be. So, but while doing law, I will be starting from the very basic, that is the word share, as it is defined in the Companies Act. Assuming that you don't know anything about share capital, but at the back of the mind, you very well know about most of the terms. But section 43 to 72 will be taught to you absolutely in a different way. That is, each and everything is new and fresh. But the only humble request is keep revising whatever we are doing in the class. Of course, there will be new concepts. You have not heard about DVRs. You have heard about DVR, that is differential voting right, while doing CA Foundation. But कैसे इशू होते हैं, कैसे मिलते हैं, क्या प्रोसीजर है, is now in this class we will. All right, so geared up with your registers, pens, papers and study material. Very, very important. इस चैप्टर को हम प्रेजेंटेशन से तो करेंगे ही करेंगे. Vis-a-vis each and every line from the module we are going to read so that we understand and we don't leave a single line which is given in the study. So we all know that company raises finance by issuing shares and debentures known as securities. Now, ma'am, it's the same word securities which we have heard earlier also in chapter 3 when we were doing prospectus. So prospectus क्यों issue करते थे? Again, the interlinking of the chapters. I told you preliminary start with the basic definitions. Then we incorporate the company. जब company बन गई तो पैसा चाहिए उसके लिए prospectus issue कर. Public company है तो prospectus issue करके shares invite करेगी and shares allot करेगी. Subscriptions invite करके shares allot करके पैसा invite. Private company है तो section 42 and rule 14 के अकॉर्डिंग प्राइवेट प्लेसमेंट से पैसा. अब पैसे में रेज क्या कर रही है? इश्यू कर रही है कंपनी शेयर्स एंड डिबेंचर्स. So we have all studied in chapter number 3 that company is raising its finances by issuing shares and debentures. Now, what is shares and what is this debentures? That is what we're going to understand in chapter number 4. It says shares represents the ownership interest in a company with entrepreneurial risks and rewards, whereas debentures depict lenders' interest in the company with limited risk. अब अच्छा shares क्या होता है? I took up a share in Reliance, so I am trying to take certain percentage of the ownership interest. But if Reliance has issued debentures to me, that means I am lender of the company. So debentures is a kind of a borrowing, and shares is a kind of an equity which has given us the ownership, interests, as well as rights in a company. Here, the risk related to entrepreneurship are involved. Better the business, higher the dividend, higher the profits, I am taking the risk. Debentures is related to the interest. What do you get on shares, children? On shares, we get dividends. Higher the profits, higher the dividends. On debentures, we get interest. What do we get on debentures? We get interest, income on debentures. Clear? All right. So let's understand the first topic of this session is stock. Definitely, I will discuss with you about the answers also, Mr. Harsh Mishra, how you have to write the answers from the study material. Just remind me somewhere in between when I open the study material, we'll go through how the provisions have to be written. Okay? Soni, Fatima, good evening, students. Let me see all those who have joined. Gopal, welcome to the class. Anubhav Mishra. Brief discussion on futures and options today. So Anubhav Mishra, futures and options is part of your CA final, but just for a simple chit chat, at the end we can have a discussion because anyways the chapter and syllabus is quite huge when we come on share capital and debentures. Okay. Shamli Sharma, what is Shamli saying? Yes, absolutely correct about the dividend interest. Pooja B. All right. Absolutely, Kuldeep, Jaya Manocha, everybody has given the correct answers. On shares, we get the dividend. Adil Khan, welcome to the class. On shares, we get the dividend, and on debentures, we get the interest. Now move ahead with the new topic, that is stock. What is the meaning of stock? It says share states that share includes stock. अब हमने पिछले चैप्टर में सिक्योरिटीज की डेफिनेशन में ये वर्ड सुना था. अब शेयर्स का चैप्टर मैंने आपको कहा था इंटरचेंजेबल यूज होता है स्टॉक, शेयर्स, स्क्रिप्ट्स. नाउ वील अंडरस्टैंड द मीनिंग ऑफ स्टॉक. The aggregate of the fully paid up shares of various members as per their requests and merge those shares into one fund, then this fund is called stock. So in simple language, stock is a collection of bundle of fully paid up shares. A took up 50 shares in a company, paid up at the rate of rupees 10. But if A has only paid rupees 8, is it a partly paid up share or a fully paid up share? Tell me. If A has only paid rupees 8, is it a partly paid up share or a fully paid up share? Absolutely correct, Navneet. It's a partly paid up share. How does it become fully paid up share? It becomes fully paid up share when full rupees 10 will be paid. Now, all those shares on which the fully paid up share rupees 10, A के 50 shares at the rate rupees 10, अगर इसने 2 रुपए और पे कर दिए, fully paid up. B के 100 shares at the rate of rupees 10, fully paid up है, तो ये fully paid up. All the shares which are fully paid up in the company are known as stock. So all the shares which once they are fully paid up, together they can be converted into a stock. Section 61, subsection 1, clause C has the power to tell a limited company to convert all or any of its fully paid up shares into stock and reconvert that stock into fully paid up shares of any denomination. Means if you have converted your 50 shares at the rate rupees 10, then 100 shares at the rate rupees 10, then 200 shares at the rate rupees 10, if they're fully paid up. So how much will be my stock? 500, 1000, 2000. 3500 ho gaya? Is it 3500? Yes. So this is my stock of 35. Now it gets converted into fully paid up shares have been converted into I have a stock of 3500 shares. Capital. Or I will say a stock of 350 shares. Fully paid up shares are converted into a stock. And if I want to reconvert them, I can reconvert them into fully paid up shares of any denomination. Suppose now company has decided to do the consolidation or subdivision of rupees 5. So it will be 100 shares at the rate of rupees 5. 500. Denomination change kar sakte ho. So what we simply have to understand, we will be talking about consolidation and subdivision further in the chapter when we do share capital. As of now, let's keep it simple. There is a word share. Share includes the word stock. Stock is a collection of fully paid up shares. Section 61 tells us that the company has the power to convert its fully paid shares into stock and reconvert it back into fully paid up shares. Now comes the kinds of share capital. How many kinds of share capital do we have? CA Foundation, 3rd or 4th page of last chapter Companies Act when you did. We just touched base the briefings of equity share capital and preference share capital. वहां पे सिर्फ नाम सुना था आपने कि equity shares होते हैं with uniform voting rights. What do we call these equity shares with uniform voting rights? Vanilla equity shares. And shares with differential voting rights are also known as DVRs. So equity shares are of two types. Equity shares having uniform voting rights. What is the meaning of the word uniform? Uniform means same. I have taken 100 shares in the company. I will get 100 voting rights. My friend has taken 1 share in the company. He gets 1 voting right. My niece took 20 shares in the same company. She gets 20 voting rights. So जितने shares आपने लिए हैं उतने voting rights मिल जाएंगे. 1 के against 1, 5 के against 5. That is the policy of vanilla equity shares. That is uniform voting rights shares. Now, so many people taking up equity shares in the company, the ownership is getting diluted. People might not be very much interested in having so many voting rights and utilizing them. All these terminology of voting rights, resolutions, we will be understanding in detail when we go to chapter number 7, that is management and administration. As of now, voting right, मतलब कितना हक है? Votes करने का कितना हक है? 5 पे 5, इतना समझ. Voting rights कैसे exercise होते हैं, कैसे meetings होनी है, that is part of chapter number 7 MGT. So equity share capital are of two types, with the uniform voting rights and with the differential voting rights. Differential voting rights equity shares. So they thought in 2018 when Tata Motors first time issued DVRs, They thought 2008, sorry. They thought that let's issue such a type of equity shares where we will give them 100 equity shareholders will only get one voting right. Or maybe 10 equity shares, you have to take up 10 equity shares in my company. Tata Motors ne jo issue kara tha, that you have to take up 10 equity shares in my company, then only you will get one voting right. 10:1 ki ratio. Now I am undertaking so much risk in your company and you're just giving me one voting right. Why will people take it up? In order to inspire them or encourage them to take up DVRs, we give little higher percentage of dividend on DVRs. So they are different with respect to the dividend that is given to them and the voting rights that are given. So कैसे याद रखना है? DVRs में voting rights कम मिलते हैं, dividend थोड़ा extra मिलता है, या फिर dividend कम मिलेगा और voting rights ज्यादा मिल जाएंगे. तो difference है with respect to the voting rights and the dividend. Those are differential voting rights. Uniform means same vanilla equity shares, same voting rights and same dividend. And the other category is preference share capital. As the name suggests, preference milna. My elder sister gets more preference than me. Means usko pehle mila. Preference milna means pehle, first. So preference shares will get two preferences. दो जगह उन्हें preference मिली. कहाँ पर? At the time of payment of dividend. So a company had a profit of 1 lakh rupees. They had to pay dividend 10,000 to preference shareholders and 25,000 to equity shareholders. Who will get the dividend first? First, 10,000 will be paid to the preference shareholders. If the profit was just 30,000, then also preference shareholders will get 10,000, equity shareholders will get balance 20,000. Why? Because preference shareholders get the benefit over the equity shareholders. And at the time of winding up, winding up means when the company is liquidated, it's getting closed. Who will get the repayment first? Repayment first of preference shareholders. Balance is to be repaid to the equity shareholders. So they get the preference for the payment of dividend. They first get the dividend, and when the capital is to be repaid, first their capital is repaid and then the capital of equity shares. Very good, Fatima, Geeta, all those who have written the answers along with that. That's good. Okay, clear? Now, equity shares with differential voting rights, we will start the process, but let me just open the study material first because I told you each and every line is very, very important. So let's open the books once. Gopal is asking something. If I purchase shares from the stock exchange through broker, are those equity shares and the uniform equity shares? So you will come to know that you are purchasing uniform equity shares or dividend. So the DVRs, how they are issued, Gopal, we will understand in a while. Then you will get clear-cut clarity about the DVRs. As of now, we have just given an introduction that there are two types of equity shares. One is with uniform vanilla shares and another is DVRs. Company will decide, Gopal, you will not take up the DVRs. Company decides whether to issue DVRs or uniform equity shares. Finance is the lifeblood of the company. Raise the finance by issuing shares and debentures. After the issue of capital, a company may either alter or reduce the share capital. So हम पढ़ेंगे alteration and reduction of share capital की provisions. Shares and debentures are presented on the balance sheet side, on the liability side, and on the asset sides of the investor and lender respectively. Clear? So share is defined as a share in the share capital and includes stock. Each unit is termed as share. मैंने कंपनी में कितना शेयर खरीदा है, इंटरेस्ट कितना है मेरा. Share is not a sum of money. It is an interest which is measured in a sum of money. And whatever rights do I get in a contract? See, when I told you the shares are allotted, there is an offer made by the shareholder that I want to buy the shares in your company. Company accepts it. Offer and allotment, offer and acceptance becomes the valid contract between the shareholder and the company. अब क्या राइट्स होंगे मेरे एज पर दी कॉन्ट्रैक्ट डिफाइन होता है, उसको बोलते हैं शेयर इन. So New London and Brazilian Bank versus Brockle Bank. This was the case which was taken up in which they decided how to define shares. That is, it is an interest measured through various rights that you get in a company. Bollens Trustees versus Brothers and Company Limited. Now, what is this case? There is a leading case law, Steel Brothers Company. What is it trying to tell you? Place his trust in the opinion and observe that it is an interest in the share is in the interest of the shareholder measured by sum of money for the purpose of liability in the first place and interest in the second, and also mutual conveyance between all the shareholders enter say according to the provisions of the Companies Act and articles. अब इसको briefly हम क्या समझेंगे? एक रिश्ता होता है. शेयर क्या है? एक रिलेशनशिप है. किसके बीच में? कंपनी एंड शेयर होल्डर के बीच में. किसके अकॉर्डिंग? एज पर दी प्रोविजंस ऑफ कंपनीज एक्ट एंड जो भी आर्टिकल्स ऑफ एसोसिएशन में लिखा. आर्टिकल्स में लिखा है इसको डीवीआर दे दो, तो इसको डीवीआर दे दो. आर्टिकल्स में लिखा है शेयर्स इशू करने हैं एट ए डिस्काउंट ऑफ प्रीमियम, स्वेट इक्विटी शेयर्स इशू करना है तो कर. आर्टिकल्स क्या बताएंगे एंड कंपनीज एक्ट 2013 क्या बताएगी? वो होता है हमारा रिलेशनशिप in the interest of the shareholder in a company. For the purpose of liability and for the purpose of interest, mutual conveyance मतलब mutual conditions जो भी हम enter करते हैं शेयरहोल्डर के साथ, वो कौन तय करता है? एक्ट तय करता है and articles of association. Sun Bakers Limited has the authorized share capital of 50 lakhs. The face value of each unit of capital or share is ₹10 per each. We can say that the company has 5 lakh equity shares of ₹10 each. When these shares are allotted to various persons, on the date of allotment, they become shareholders of the company. मतलब मैंने आपको कहा था ना, आपको कंपनीज एक्ट 2013 वैसे ही समझाएगी जैसे आपको कभी शेयर का नाम सुना ही नहीं. कितना बच्चों वाला एग्जाम्पल दे रहे हैं. आप तो अकाउंट्स पढ़ चुके हो, आपको तो पता है ये चीज, पर फिर भी एज प्रोमिस्ड हम ईच एंड एवरी लाइन स्टडी रीड करेंगे, हम अंडरस्टैंड करेंगे. अगर ऑथराइज्ड शेयर कैपिटल 50 लाख है, दैट मींस शेयर की वैल्यू अगर प्राइस ₹10 है तो 5 लाख इक्विटी शेयर्स. जब ये शेयर्स अलॉट होंगे तो वो शेयर होल्डर्स बन जाएंगे. When your name is entered in the register of members, you become member in the company. When you take up share in the company, you become a share. कैसे लिखा जाएगा? कंपनी लिमिटेड बाय शेयर और दोज हैविंग द शेयर कैपिटल हैज टू कोट इन द मेमोरेंडम दैट द शेयर कैपिटल ऑफ द कंपनी इज 50 लाख रुपीस डिवाइडेड इनटू 5 लाख शेयर्स ऑफ ₹10. इस तरह से उसके एमओए में डिफाइन करा जाता है. रिमेंबर द लास्ट क्लॉज इन विच यू डिफाइंड अबाउट द सब्सक्रिप्शन क्लॉज, हाउ मच शेयर्स आर टेकन अप बाय द सब्सक्राइबर्स टू द मेमोरेंडम. Authorized share capital clause. This we have studied share and stock. Stock is lump sum. Share is the smallest unit having a face value. Originally, shares are issued, while in case of stock, fully paid up shares get converted into stock. Stock is not issued originally. बस ये लाइन है, ये MCQ में आ सकती है. Can I issue stock first and then convert? No. Stock कैसे issue हो जाएगा? Shares issue होंगे जब lump sum हो जाएगा, तब उसे stock fully paid up shares are converted into stock. क्या मैं ऐसा बोल सकती हूँ मैंने मिस्टर ए को स्टॉक इशू कर, मैंने मिस्टर ए को शेयर्स इशू करे, कंपनी के जितने भी शेयर होल्डर्स के फुली पेड अप शेयर्स है वो स्टॉक पे कन्वर्ट. इक्विटी एंड प्रेफरेंस शेयर कैपिटल हमने अभी अभी ये पढ़ा. प्रेफरेंस शेयर या दिस इज द रेप्लिकेट ऑफ योर फाउंडेशन वाली बुक में से आपने पढ़ा हुआ है इसके बारे में, दैट at the time of winding up of the company or repayment, preference shareholders are exist only up to the amount paid or deemed to would have been paid on the shares. There is a preferential right. मतलब इनके पास एक preferential right होता है for the payment of fixed premium specified in the memorandums and articles unless there is an agreement to the contrary. What is the meaning of this line? Unless there is an agreement to the contrary. There was a company ABC Limited. They have written in the articles of association that at the time of winding up, both equity and preference will be paid equally. And no preference is to be given to any one of them. Can we say in this case that preference shareholders will get the money first? It says if you have entered something against this in your articles, then go as per articles. बोला ना उसने shareholder का relationship Companies Act and Articles of Association define कर. आपने एग्रीमेंट में कुछ और लिख दिया तो प्लीज आप फॉलो करो इक्विटी शेयर्स होल्डर को राइट है. It is that part of the share capital which carries a preferential right in respect of dividend and repayment of capital. But at the repayment of capital, anything contrary is entered, then you will have to follow that. Otherwise, fixed rate of dividend होता है इसको, absolute amount of fixed rate मिलता है, and at the time of winding up, इसकी capital पहले repay होती है preference shareholders. In Swift Pharma Labs Limited and Panacea Biotech Limited issued preference shares. They provided preferential dividend of fixed amount of say rupees 5 lakh in 1 year payable to preference shareholders before anything is paid to the ordinary shareholders. Panacea Biotech provides the amount payable may be calculated at the fixed rate of 8% of the nominal value of each share. So कहते हैं आप डिसाइड कर सकते हो. इंड फार्मा ने कहा 5 लाख देंगे हर साल, एक ने कहा हम फिक्स रेट दे देंगे, या तो फिक्स अमाउंट दे सकते हो. एमसीक्यू पूछेगा can we only give a fixed rate of dividend or we can give a fixed amount also, yes or no? To the preference shareholders, can we give only a preference rate or a fixed amount can also be given, yes or no? Both can be given. Very good. Good everybody. ठीक है. Nothing contained will affect the preference shareholders' rights who are entitled to participate in the winding up before the commencement of the act. It says preference shareholders can also be given the right to participate in the winding up before. So if this act was not applicable, before the commencement of the act, any company is having the shares and you are leaving the company, then also you have your preferential rights. Then also you get preference before the equity shareholders. अब समझने वाली बात है, they may also participate in the equity pool post the preferential entitlements. Asterisk mark करके लिखो participating preference shares. क्या बोलते हैं इसको? Participating preference shares. Rights of participation may be taken from the four corners of the articles and the terms of the issue. First, we will read the case of Scottish Insurance and then I will explain you the meaning of this line. If the right to participate in the surplus is not mentioned at the time of issue of preference shares, then they are non-participating. This was confirmed by Scottish Insurance Corporation Limited versus Wilson's and Skylight Coal Company Limited by the House of Lords. Now, what is the meaning of this? You will write it down with me. एक होते हैं participating preference shares. Children, just give me 1 minute, please. Yes, thank you for your cooperation. So one is participating preference shares and the other is non-participating. पहले तो मुझे ये बताओ participating and non-participating का मतलब क्या? I am going to participate in the class function. That means I will take part in it. I am not going to participate. That means I will not take part in it. General meaning? This is what the general meaning says, yes? All right. So what is the meaning of participating preference shareholders? These are the preference shareholders. While we were issuing these preference shares, we have written to them that you will be allowed to participate in the equity pool. Anubhav Malik is saying, how will you define a bundle? Bundle उसने सिर्फ एक उसके लॉट को नाम दिया है कि सारे फुली पेड अप शेयर्स इकट्ठे हो गए तो उसको बंडल ऑफ फुली पेड अप शेयर्स है, ठीक है ना, उसको उसने नाम दिया कि स्टॉक बन जाएगा. Togetherness, that is what they're saying. Together they are known as stock. Okay, where were we? So first of all, what is the meaning of the word equity pool? कहता है आपने पोस्ट दी प्रेफरेंशियल एंटाइटलमेंट्स, तो कंपनी वाइंडिंग अप में गई, एबीसी लिमिटेड कंपनी थी, वाइंडिंग अप में गई. पहले प्रेफरेंस किसको मिलेगी मैम? प्रेफरेंस शेयर होल्डर्स का पैसा दिया जाएगा. फिर किसको पैसे मिलेंगे? इक्विटी शेयर होल्डर्स को पैसे मिले. अब यहाँ पे बचे थे पैसे 1 करोड़, इसको मिलने थे 15 लाख, इसको मिलने थे 80 lakhs. Do you think still some money is left? Ma'am, 5 lakh is still left. तो भैया अब होता क्या है, बैलेंस बचा है तो इक्विटी शेयर होल्डर्स को दे दो. इसको बोलते हैं इक्विटी पूल. जो बच गया, बैलेंस which is left after paying the preferential entitlements, after paying 15 lakhs out of 1 crore, 95 was left. Oh, sorry. After paying 15, 85 was left. 80 belong to equity shareholders. 5 lakh pool is still left. So if the preference shareholders were told at the time of issue of preference shares that yes, you can participate in the equity pool, then these 15 lakh preference shareholders will also take some portion from 5 lakhs. But if nothing was specified at the time of issue of preference shareholders, then we assume that they are non-participating. ऐसा मान लिया जाता है कि ये non-participating preference shares. So how we have to learn? If written in the terms of issue or AOA, that you will write this notes that preference shareholders can participate in equity pool. Then it is participating preference shares. If nothing is specified, in terms of preference shares or AOA, then we assume it is नॉन पार्टिसिपेटिंग. अब स्कॉटलैंड वाले केस में, स्कॉटिश इंश्योरेंस कंपनी के केस में हुआ क्या था, जब इक्विटी पूल पड़ा था तो उन्होंने बोला हम पार्टिसिपेट करेंगे, लॉ में लिखा हुआ है कि हम पार्टिसिपेट कर सकते हैं. वो कहता अगर जब इशू करे थे हमने आपको कहा था कि आप करना तभी कर सकते हो, अदरवाइज. ठीक है, इफ नथिंग इज स्पेसिफाइड देन इट इज अज्यूम्ड दैट इट इज नॉन पार्टिसिपेटिंग. एवरीबॉडी अंडरस्टूड दिस? इज इट क्लियर? I told you chapter sounds tough. I will explain you each and every line and you'll start finding it easy. Yes, Kuldeep, that is what we're talking about, participating in the balance profits, only if it is written in the agreement. Okay, thank you, Shamli. I'm glad you've understood. Good. Now let's do the last part, that is preference shares are presumed to be cumulative and the accumulation of dividend can be excluded only by providing an articles provision. Now let's understand cumulative and non-cumulative preference shares. एक होते हैं cumulative preference shares एक होते हैं नॉन क्यूमुलेटिव प्रेफरेंस शेयर. There was a company ABC Limited. It had huge losses in first year. When I have huge loss for few years, it has huge losses for few years and didn't pay dividend. अब dividend नहीं pay कर सकते, loss है. So first year का dividend था 5,000. Second year का dividend था 6,000. फिर थर्ड ईयर में प्रॉफिट हो गया एंड डिविडेंड था 5,000. हाउ मच डिविडेंड should be given to the preference shareholders? Answer me. Raise your hands and answer me. Let me see how well you have understood the concept of cumulative and non-cumulative. कितने अच्छे से पढ़ा हुआ है आपने? Yes. How much dividend should be given to the preference shareholders? First year में loss था 5,000 का dividend बनता था 6,000 का. Third year में profit हुआ and 5,000. कितना देना चाहिए? Kuldeep says 16,000. Okay. Navneet says 16,000. Jaya Manocha says 16,000. Thank you so much, Jaya. I'm so glad to know that you enjoy my teaching. That's great, Bacha. Abhinav says 16,000. Great. Shamli says 16,000 in case of cumulative. Huh? You are trying to act safe in case of cumulative. So, अगर नहीं भी लिखते in case of cumulative, हमने लिखा तो है we presume. Ma'am, you didn't tell us anything, so we assume that it is cumulative preference shares. Therefore, now 16,000 dividend will be given to the preference shareholders. Why? Because if no restriction in AOA is given, then we presume it is cumulative preference shares. But if the accumulation of dividend, accumulation means dividend का इकट्ठा होना, if there is restriction in the articles that we don't allow accumulation of dividend, then only 5,000 can be claimed. फिर जो सिर्फ थर्ड ईयर के प्रॉफिट में आया है, that will only be claimed. Then they can only claim 5,000 because it becomes the non-cumulative preference. Everybody will write down this. Let me just see the students on the query pad also. I hope everybody is understanding and no doubts. In case of no, in case of cumulative, it is 16,000. In case of non-cumulative, it will be only 5,000, 6,000. Sorry, 6,000 था ना थर्ड ईयर में? नहीं बेटा, 5,000 था. 5,000. Clear? So it can be excluded means आप तभी उसको non-cumulative कर सकते हैं अगर आपने articles में कहा. Now let's move ahead. Can a company have only preference share capital? This is very interesting. MCQ में क्वेश्चन आएगा, कैन अ कंपनी ओनली हैव प्रेफरेंस शेयर कैपिटल? इज इट पॉसिबल? टेल मी यस और नो. If you have only preference share capital, then on whom, over whom are you giving them preference? अभी तो मैंने बताया ना, एल्डर सिस्टर एंड यंगर सिस्टर, तो किसी को प्रेफरेंस, अगर सिर्फ एक ही सिबलिंग है तो क्या प्रेफरेंस, उसी को ही तो प्रेफरेंस दोगे, फिर कंपैरिजन थोड़ी ना हो जाएगा. प्रेफरेंस तो इंग्लिश में हम तब वर्ड यूज करेंगे व्हेन वी वांट टू कंपेयर वन इज गिवन प्रेफरेंस ओवर द अदर. So they can never be only preference shareholders in the company. You have to have, you have to have you say, yes, it's possible, Anubhav Mishra. How is it possible? In the absence of equity shares, you can never have preference shares. It should be mentioned if cumulative or non, if articles are silent. If articles are silent, Kuldeep Nagar, then we assume that they are cumulative. We always assume that they are cumulative. If article says that no accumulation is allowed, then it means it is non-cumulative. Okay? Yes, Kabirji, at least 2 classes that have to be there. Very good, Geeta, Harsh Kaur, everybody has written no ma'am, preference shareholders nahi ho sakte. Equity, very good, Pooja B. Equity shareholders have to be there, then only they will be given the preference. Good, Sony. A company may only have but equity shares ho sakte hain sir. And but it cannot have only preference shares because they have certain preferential rights over equity. In the absence of equity share capital, there cannot be any preferential capital. अब ये लाइनें इतनी आसान लगती हैं, हम इनको ओवरव्यू भी कर देते हैं, हम भूल जाते हैं ये पढ़ना क्यूमुलेटिव क्या लिखा है, ये पार्टिसिपेटिव. एवरीवन इज गोइंग टू मेक देयर नोट्स बिकॉज एमसीक्यू में बच्चा ये चीज पूछ लेते हैं एंड इट्स वेरी सिंपल. Not a single line from the study material you will leave. And keep making short notes along with the chapters. Use stick-ons, use highlighters, so that on the day of exam, you're not lost. It should not be written in any of the maths or accounts notebook or maths to accounts or tax notebook, so that you don't even know where it is. Always maintain a separate register for law, separate short notes. Stick-ons should be used on the side of the material. You can write whatever method, but it should be written about participative and cumulative. And the third point is that you cannot issue just the preference. अब आ जाते equity shares with plain vanilla because they get the same equity rights. Differential are different with respect to dividend and the voting rights. Equity shares are also known as ordinary shares and sometimes as common shares. Ordinary shares are common shares को भी equity shares. Now we are going to start with the procedure, which is a little complicated over here. So let's go in the simplified version of my notes for differential dividend voting rights. Can be differential voting rights. Again, equity shares with differential rights. How we are going to issue them? What is the procedure? That is what we're going to understand. Okay, Miss Mangla R, if you have any doubts, you can ask here on the query pad also. Okay, Mangla? And the Zoom link is available on the portal only, Mangla. You can join it from there. Otherwise, on the query pad also, you can ask. Conditions to share equity shares with differential. Now, Gopal, your questions will get answered. Can we all get equity shares with differential voting rights? Now we are going to understand how they are issued. First of all, the AO of the company will authorize the issue of equity shares with the. अगर तो आपने ऐसी कंपनी का शेयर खरीदा है जिसके एओ में डीवीआरस के बारे में लिखा ही नहीं है, आप डीवीआरस कैसे दे सकते? Then you will only get the ordinary shareholders. So first authorization has to be given by the articles of association, should be having written about that DVRs can be issued by the company. Now it is authorized by passing ordinary resolution at the general meeting. That means the company is required to pass an OR through postal ballot. In last chapter, that is chapter number 3, prospectus, हमने ये नाम कहीं सुना था, पोस्टल बैलेट, याद है आपको? लेट मी टेक योर मेमोरी टेस्ट. कौन बताए सेक्शन कौन सा था और कहाँ हमने पढ़ा था कि अगर आप कोई ऐसी रेजोल्यूशन पास करते हो जहां पे आपको एसआर पास करना था उस केस में, बट एसआर वाज पास थ्रू पोस्टल बैलेट. एनी स्टूडेंट रिमेंबर्स? Sabia Khan, Pujitha S, Okay, Pujitha S. If you have not understood any point, you can ask me. So we try to speak each and every line in English, but for those who don't understand English, we need to convert it in. Otherwise, the entire lecture is in English. Okay. So if I say anything in Hindi, that is the repetition of what I've said in English. All right. Still, if you haven't understood anything, you can ask. Okay, Satish, very good. Vinayak. Yes, Vinayak, he will get the dividend of all those 4 years because it was a cumulative dividend that is. Aditya KS, Ashlesha Paul, all your answers are correct. Now I'm getting your messages. Julie Kumari. Yes, excellent. Julie Kumari remembers variation in prospectus section 27. I hope you have not Googled it out. Vedant Tiwari, very good. Section 27, Prajapati. Excellent. Rule 7 also you remembered. Arun Kumar is asking preference shares are also. Yes, Arun Kumar, any of the shares can be issued, either equity or preference shares. Prerna has given the correct answer, section 27. Ria has given the correct answer, variation in the terms of contract. You have made me super happy by telling me that you remember. Changing the object, okay, Kabirjit, that is also correct for the, I think you have gone into chapter number 2. But here I was asking about section 27. Section 110, Kuldeep Nagar. वो तो अभी हमने पढ़ा ही नहीं हम तो सिर्फ सेक्शन 27 की बात कर रहे थे हर्ष कौर प्लीज चेक द फॉर्म इट्स रॉन्ग आई सपोज यू हैव रिटन द रॉन्ग नेम ऑफ द फॉर्म नोटिस भी था ठीक है अनुभव मलिक नोटिस भी था एडवर्टाइजमेंट भी करा था चलो उसमें नहीं जाएंगे अब बट सबने बिल्कुल सही आंसर दिया है तो पोस्टल बैलेट क्या था पोस्टल बैलेट मीन्स घर बैठे ही ओके इन इंग्लिश you are giving your votes while sitting at home only. So ballot papers will be sent by post to all the shareholders. They will cast their vote and they will post it back. So this is the system of postal ballot. When we do chapter number 7, we will understand the detailed procedure. But since we touch base the basic of this in chapter number 3 also, so that's why I reminded you. So postal ballot is also another method of passing the resolutions in the meeting. But OR will be passed. AO will authorize and OR will be passed. What is the meaning of OR? So we have special resolution or ordinary resolution. 50% of the shareholders, if they agree and say yes, that DVRs can be issued to a particular shareholder, then OR will be passed to ordinary resolution. And for SR, at least 75% of the shareholders need to agree. So children, when we go to chapter number 7, we will do 2 types of businesses, ordinary business and special business. Ordinary business generally has 4 categories: appointment of the auditors, appointment of directors and removal of directors, payment of dividend, or approval of books of accounts. So for any of these 4 important ordinary business transactions, we generally pass ordinary resolutions. But at times, for some special business transaction like differential voting right is a special business. For those also at times ordinary resolution is required to be passed. All right. Voting power in respect of shares with DVRs shares to voting rights होंगे total voting power होगी DVRs की it shall not exceed 75% of the total voting power at any point of time. So whatever I have issued A equity DVRs, I have issued B equity DVRs, I have issued C equity DVRs, and the total voting power is given to them is 80%. No, it should always be less than the 74% of the total voting power at any point. कंपनी की जो 74% ऑफ द टोटल वोटिंग पावर है उससे कम वोटिंग पावर देनी है हमें टू द डिफरेंशियल वोटिंग पैटर्न्स. The first 3 points are related to compliance. So in your notes you will write AOA, OR, 74% of the voting power, less than 74% of the voting. First 3 points AOA, OR, less than 74%. Now the next 3 points are related to no defaults to be made. Keep making such kind of headings so that it becomes easy for you to know. No defaults to be made. Number 1, company should not have defaulted in filing the financial statements and the annual returns for the last 3 years immediately preceding financial. We are in the year 2025. Company has decided to issue DVRs to Mr. A. However, in the year 2018, company has made a default in filing its financial statements and also failed to file its annual returns to the registrar or whatever the compliance was required. Can the company issue DVRs? Yes or no? Tell me. Can be issued. Why? Because everybody has said yes, we can issue. Why? Because the default should not have been for last 3 years. Excellent, Kabaljeet, Kuldeep. Yes, nominal majority is also fine in that case. If it has filed after 2021, very nice. I'm coming to that point. Okay, so as of now, for 3 years point that we have understood that last 3 years may means 24, 23, and 22. In last 3 years में he should not have defaulted in filing its financial statements in that 2018 में करा था 19 में कोई बात नहीं अब कर सकते. Company has not made any default in payment of dividend. Dividend पे करने में अगर default करा तो DVRs issue नहीं कर सकते. In repayment of its maturity deposits within trust. Now let me ask you one thing. What is the meaning of deposits? I have taken the deposits from the shareholders and I need to pay interest on that. I'm a company. I was in shortfall of money. So I have borrowed money. Deposit क्या होता है? When we borrow the money from the shareholders. Next chapter that you'll be doing acceptance of deposits. So when I have taken a deposit from my shareholder, I have to pay them interest. But I am a company who has not repaid their deposits only. I'm making a default in such things. I'm not redeeming my preference shares timely. I'm not paying back my debentures. So how can this company think of issuing DVRs? DVRs थोड़े अमीर तो बनो, बाकी payments तो कर दो, बाकी तो आप default कर रहे हो. You're not repaying your preference shareholders. You're not repaying your debentures. You're not paying back your deposits. You're not paying dividend. Are you a good company for issuing DVRs? Better you don't issue DVRs. You are not doing proper compliance. If you are a defaulter in redeeming the preference shares, redeeming debentures, repayment of deposits, and payment of dividend, then you cannot issue DVRs. So what is the line written? Company has no subsisting default. Means there should be no default in payment of dividend, preference shares redemption, redemption of debentures, and repayment of deposits. Next point for default. Company has not defaulted in paying the dividend to preference shares. So now just think, company is not paying the dividend to preference shares and one side it is thinking of issuing DVRs. You cannot issue DVRs. Repayment of term loan. Company has taken a loan from public financial institutions or state level financial institutions, SFI or any scheduled bank, and has not repaid their loan. Statutory payment of employees, some bonus, some salary was to be payable. We are not paying back that. Company has made a default in sending the amount to IEPF fund, Investor Education Protection Fund में हमें अमाउंट डालना होता है. लास्ट चैप्टर में मैंने आपको बताया था रेफरेंस, जो अमाउंट बैलेंस बच जाता है. डिविडेंड वाले चैप्टर में आप दोबारा पढ़ेंगे इसके बारे में. Chapter number 8 में what are the amounts that we need to transfer. If you have not transferred it correctly, then also you cannot issue TVS. So preference shares का dividend नहीं दिया, term loan लिया, कंपनी के बंदों से डिपॉजिट्स लिया, रीपे नहीं करा, कंपनी के प्रेफरेंस शेयर्स नहीं रीपे करे, कंपनी के डिवेंचर्स नहीं रीपे करे, तो नहीं कर सकते. बाहर वालों का लोन नहीं दिया, एम्प्लॉइज का पैसा नहीं दिया, आईईपीएफ में नहीं डाला एंड प्रेफरेंस शेयर होल्डर्स का डिविडेंड नहीं दिया, तब भी आप डीवीआर इशू नहीं कर सकते. Provided the company can issue DVRs upon the expiry of 5 years from the end on which this default is made good. Now, sixth category of defaults are those defaults If the company has rectified these default in the last 5 years, then yes, it can issue TDS. It can issue upon the expiry of 5 years from the end of the year in which default was made. Good. Default was made good means up kar di. So let's assume there was a default of preference shareholders dividend, which was to be paid of rupees 10,000. Company fails to pay that in the year, which year? 2018. Company paid it in year 2019. Now 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025. 5 years, more than 5 years have passed since the company has made good the default. Can this company issue DVR? Yes or no? Can this company issue DVRs? ये सब examples लिखते रहना बेटा. I'm just writing it for you. Ma'am, what if default exists in the repayment of loan? So if the default is still existing, Kabirji, then you cannot issue DVRs. Okay, yes, Kuldeep, 2025, you can issue. Savya Khan, yes, it was PS1 form in that case. That's correct. Geeta, Sony, all of you. No? Sony, are you saying no for this answer? Or the previous one? Satish, yes, is the correct answer. Yes, Pooja, Shamli, everybody has written the correct answer. Yes, we can issue DVRs because 5 years have passed when you made the default good. Making the default good means now you have rectified. Somebody was asking term loan. We have not repaid the loan. We repaid it. 5 years have passed from the time when we repaid it. You can issue your DVRs. Company should not be penalized by any court or tribunal for the last 3 years for any offense under RBI Act, SEBI Act, SAKARA Act, FEMA Act. अरे भाई फेमा की चोरी कर रहे हो, फॉरेन एक्सचेंज मैनेज नहीं कर रहे हो, सिक्योरिटीज कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में गलतियां कर रहे हो, कोर्ट ने पीनल चार्जेस लगाए हैं, सेबी ने चार्जेस लगाए हुए हैं, आरबीआई नहीं फॉलो कर रहे. लास्ट 3 years में इफ यू आर डूइंग सच मिस्टेक, भूल जाओ कि डीवीआर इशू करो. क्यों? क्योंकि डीवीआर को 10 शेयर्स देकर 1 वोटिंग राइट यू आर प्लानिंग टू गिव एंड यू हैव टू गिव देम a good percentage of higher dividend also. Suppose 1 equity share has 1 voting right and the dividend that we are giving to them is 14%. Here you have given him 10 shares and 1 voting right and the dividend is 18%. So I need to pay such a higher dividend to my shareholders. How can I pay if I don't have money in my pocket to pay my outsiders loans, to pay my preference shareholders dividends? My court is charging me penalty interest. Then how, for last 3 years, if I'm a defaulter in such things, I cannot issue the DVs. So a lot of compliances need to be seen. You have to be a good, clean company when you're issuing DVs. All right. So AO will authorize. What has to be passed? Less than 75% of the total voting power at any time. Company should not default in filing financial statements and annual return for 3 years. And court tribunal should not have charged you for last 3 years under RBI, FEMA, SEBI, SAKARA, and SEBI or any other. Company should not have defaulted in payment of dividend, deposits, preference, and shares. And for the term loan interest, statutory payments, default in IEPF, 5 years should have passed when the default was made good. Then there is an explanatory statement which is also to be attached with the notice of the general meeting. So when you send, children, now what happens is when we are having a meeting, then we need to send a general notice, which we'll understand under chapter 7. So when we do notice there, I will explain you how the notice goes for the meeting. Along with the notice, if we are doing a special business, now I told you it's not an ordinary business. Ordinary business is dividend payment, adoption of the books of accounts, appointment of auditors, appointment of directors. So ये ordinary business है जो routine में हो. Other than that, if I'm setting up of a new business, I'm changing my line of business, I'm doing some kind of this different kind of things, then I do a special business. So issuing of DVRs is also not part of ordinary business. That means it's a special business. So for transacting such special business, explanatory statement needs to be sent. So for that explanatory statement, when I send the notice for meeting, what is the meaning of notice? So have you seen a notice on your school board or college board? Notice क्या होता है? एक announcement होता है कि tomorrow we are going to hold your freshers party or farewell. Now your intermediate students may be having farewell parties you're throwing out, or you're getting freshers, whatever it is. So you get an announcement on the college board. So you are announcing, people will come to know, they will read. This is an advertisement that you. Similarly, when the company is holding a meeting, it will send the notice because we are inviting the people to do the postal ballots. So along with that notice, an explanatory statement is also sent. So till here, read it. After the break, I'm going to ask you, take 5-10 minutes, learn DVRs till whatever I've told you. जितना मैंने अभी बताया, एक बार ही सारा कंप्लायंस पढ़ो, डिफॉल्ट कब है, 3 साल का कब है, 5 साल का कब है, और दोबारा 3 साल का कब है. I will ask you questions and then we'll move ahead. Sir, we are taking a small break here. All right, welcome back, students. I was reading some of the queries meanwhile. Third point, Anubhav Malik. Okay, Anubhav. I will explain the third point. Anybody wants to raise their hands and ask their questions? Aditya KS, fine. I did not understand 74%. No. Vedant is saying that means DVRs only have 24%. No. That's wrong. They should not have more than 74% of the total voting power. That is the limit, Vedant, that they have given to them. That means I cannot issue the DVRs for more than 70. That is the limit. So I issued DVRs having 30% of the voting rights, 40% of the voting rights, 10% more. So that is not allowed. 30 and 40 ke baad sirf 4% more is allowed. That is what it means. So let's have a quick recap from the study material also. Somebody else also raised a doubt. I cannot find it. Prajapati, was it you? No. Yes, Navneet, what is your doubt? Yes, it is Navneet. If one default has been made good and 5 years has been expired and other default is none, no, then company cannot issue DVRs. Okay? Then company cannot issue DVRs. In your question, Navneet. Prerna, Mustafa. Okay. So first condition is articles authorization, ordinary resolution. So the MCQ will ask you, what can be the total voting power of the DVRs? 75%, 82%, 74%, or 64%. So what is the maximum voting power in respect of DVRs is 74% at any point of time. It cannot exceed 74%. Next MCQ can come is, which we have already done, that if the company has defaulted for more than 3 financial years, then it's okay. But for the last 3 financial years, it should not default in filing the annual accounts and the returns. If the company has the default of repayment of deposits, debentures, does it make this default for 5 years good? Yes or no? For issuing the DVRs? So a company may issue equity shares with differential rights upon the expiry of 5 years from the end of financial year on which the default is made good. It can be any default. It can be any default. जो भी उसने गलतियां करी हैं 5 साल में, वो लास्ट 5 साल में अगर अपने डिफॉल्ट ठीक कर दिया है, then the company can issue DVRs. Is that correct? So it can be any default which has been rectified in the last 5 years. What was these defaults? Preference share dividend, term loan, statutory payments, and investor education and protection fund amounts. Company should not have been penalized under 5 acts. फटाफट से नाम लिखो chat box में. RBI, SEBI, SACARA, Securities Contract, FEMA, any other special. For last 3 years, it should not have been penalized. Equity shares with dividends shall be issued as per the provisions of Companies Act and whatever rules are given. It is worth noting that the shares with differential voting rights were not permitted to be issued. Before the amendment of Children 2000 year, Companies Act 1956, it was not allowed. Though differential rights existed prior to the enactment of the Companies Act. So it's just telling you an information that पहले होता था, but बीच में इनको बंद कर दिया गया. अब हम यहाँ पे बात कर रहे थे explanatory statement which is attached to the notice. Annexed to the notice means Annexed to the notice means attached with the notice. There is an explanatory statement which has the details regarding this issue, which is attached with the notice. So the statement will be sent along with a notice when it is given for the postal ballot. It shall contain the following particulars like size of the DVRs that you're issuing, what are the details of the DVRs, how much dividend will be given, what will be the voting rights, everything you have to mention in the explanatory statement. Prohibits on conversion. Company prohibits the conversion of existing share capital into DVRs. If I have A listed equity shares with me, can I get them converted into DVRs? The answer is no. You cannot get conversion. A company will only issue fresh DVRs, तभी आपको DVRs मिलेंगे. So अगर आपको equity shares मिले हुए हैं with voting rights, it cannot be converted into DVRs. Neither DVRs can be converted into equity. Vice versa is also not possible. Now, board's report. Board of Director will prepare the report at the end of the year. They will also disclose the specified materials, particulars related to the DVRs. What are those particulars? In which the issue of equity shares was completed. The board's report will tell the financial year किस साल में equity shares with DVRs have been completed. What are the rights of the equity shares with differential? They have all the same rights. They also get bonus shares. They also get right shares. Same rights as the equity shareholders are given. Only there is two difference. The voting rights ka difference and the dividend percentage is different. So only when the company has taken a decision that we are issuing DVRs, articles of authorization, ordinary resolution, then only you can take the DVRs. Not that you can just go and say that convert my equity shares into DVRs. That is not possible. Neither the DVRs can be converted back into equity. G point में Companies Act itself is not given. क्या बोल रहे हैं अनुभव? G point कौन सा? Oh, it means that penalty नहीं होनी चाहिए बेटा by court and tribunal द्वारा. Tribunal तो Companies Act में लगाएगा ना. Tribunal अगर लगा रहा है इन वजहों से नहीं लगा रहा. Companies Act का तो compliance होगा ही अनुभव. And somebody was asking default is only for F point. No, it is for all the defaults. See, it is written as a note now. Company may issue the differential voting rights upon the expiry of 5 years. So it is general for the all the points, for all the defaults. Okay, so we get all the same rights as given to the equity shareholders. Shares registers to be maintained. A company issue equity shares with differential voting rights. The register of members under 88 will contain all the particulars. Now again, ma'am, what is this register of members? What is section 88? So when we go to chapter number 7 MGT, start that chapter with section 88, which tells you that a register of members is maintained in which we do all the entries of the members. So register of members will be maintained and it shall have all the details of the DVRs issue. Now, section 43. What is section 43? Related to DVRs. It is not applicable to IFSC public company where their memorandum and articles provide, and private company. It is not applicable to private company where memorandum and articles of the private company so provides. Means IFSC public company and private company को ये applicable नहीं है अगर उनके memorandum and articles में नहीं लिखा हो. Clear? So again, these points are also here. Company cannot convert the existing shares into DVRs. Board's report will disclose rights has to be given under the section 88. Register of members has to be maintained. Explanatory statement is important. Now section 46. What is the meaning of share certificate? चाहे share certificate कह लो या certificate of shares कह लो. Any one of you have heard this word? Document of title to goods, sale of goods, CA foundation, कुछ याद है? Document of title to goods is the document showing the ownership, like bill of lading. All those who have studied from me, do you remember document of title to goods? We have done in so much of detail. So title is ownership. Ownership gets transferred. So any bill of lading, railway receipt, lorry receipt, all of the documents of title, and if it is given from one to another person, whosoever is holding is presumed to be the owner of the goods. but there is a small line written over there, document showing the title of. Document showing the title means a document which is showing the ownership. It is not transferring. So if there is a share certificate and name is written Miss Neha, so this share certificate belongs to only to Neha and it cannot be transferred to anybody else because share certificate is a document showing title. Kuldeep, IFSC public company, when we go ahead, the name will come n number of times. So we will explain it in the next chapters, not very, very important with relevance to your share capital and debentures. Okay, Kuldeep? All right. Gopal is asking anything. Statutory due of employees, any example? Statutory due क्या होता है? Salary, Mr. Gopal, देखने. Salary that you get, the bonus that you get, the leave entitlement, leave encashment, these are all statutory dues of employees, which is mandatory for the employer to pay to the employees. So you should not have defaulted in the basic salary of payment of the employees. Okay. Okay, Gopal, clear? All right. So share certificate, what does it mean? Share certificate means it is a prima facie evidence of title if certificate is issued under a common seal, if any, or signed by two directors, or it is signed by a director or a company secretary if the company has a seal. So generally, the share certificate is issued under the common seal of a company. So if I'm Reliance, I get the common seal of Reliance and my share certificate, my name is written Relief God. That means it is a prima facie evidence. इस पे common seal है, इस पे मेरा नाम लिखा है, तो I am the owner of this share. कॉमन सील नहीं है, कंपनी ने बंद कर दी, तो दो डायरेक्टर्स ने अगर साइन कर दिया, अंबानी ने एंड दो डायरेक्टर्स ने मिलकर अगर साइन कर दिया, तो मान लिया जाएगा हरलीन फॉर प्राइमा फेसी एविडेंस, अंबानी एंड अदर डायरेक्टर हैज साइन, आई एम दी ओनर. डायरेक्टर के साथ अगर उन्होंने कंपनी सेक्रेटरी रखा हुआ है, तो कंपनी सेक्रेटरी भी साइन करेगा. वन डायरेक्टर एंड कंपनी सेक्रेटरी shall sign, then only it will be considered as a valid share certificate. Clear? So share certificate has to be signed under common seal of two directors or one director and one seal. If the composition of board of directors permit, at least one or two directors shall be person other than managing or whole-time director. One is a managing director who is looking into the affairs of the company, another is a whole-time director. Now these types of directors, CA finance leads. अभी के लिए सिर्फ क्या, अगर कंपनी परमिट करेगी तो एक या दो डायरेक्टर्स अदर देन मैनेजिंग एंड होल टाइम डायरेक्टर मींस एग्जीक्यूटिव डायरेक्टर्स भी हो सकते हैं इफ द बोर्ड डायरेक्टर परमिट. मींस हमने अपॉइंट ही नहीं करा मैनेजिंग एंड होल टाइम डायरेक्टर, हमारे अदर देन दीज हैं एग्जीक्यूटिव डायरेक्टर्स है, तो वो भी चल जाए. दिस इज व्हाट दिस लाइन मींस. So share certificate is a prima facie evidence, means it's a proof that you are the owner of the company. Title means ownership. It's a proof of the ownership. Issue of renewed or duplicate share certificate. A case where the share certificate was originally issued. There was Mr. E, to whom the share certificate was issued. He has lost it or the share certificate got destroyed. While having a cup of tea in the office, he placed his share certificate and kept his mug of tea on it, and the tea spilled on it, and the whole of the share certificate got destroyed. What will you do now? A share certificate in duplicate can be issued only if board of directors is happy or is convinced on the evidence proof. Means you will have to prove it. Oh, बोलेगा यार इतना careless? How can you be so careless? You are drinking a cup of tea by keeping your share certificate under the cup of tea, and you spilled the tea on that. It is destroyed now, and it has your rights of ownership. It was prima facie evidence. Now you'll have to go and apply for the new. So you have to prove this point that this happened by mistake. Then only you will get a duplicate share certificate. Otherwise, it will not be given. And where original share certificate has been defaced, mutilated, or turned, a renewed will be given only in replacement. You'll have to surrender the old one, then only you get the new one. Now, one case was that it is completely, tea has been spilled on it and it's completely destroyed. Khatam hai. So you'll get a duplicate one, but you have to prove the point. Another is that it is little twisted or turned, but it's still in your hands. Then you have to surrender this old one and you get the new. So in the second case, replacement is happening. In the first case, duplicate share certificate is being issued. So duplicate will be issued only if you prove that evidence has to be given, board has to be made satisfied. But replacement, so this is the case of duplicate share certificate. This is the case of replacement. So you said, ma'am, it's torn, it's not visible, my name has got erased. Please, I'll surrender this original one and you give me a replacement one. Then it will be given only if you surrender the original. Otherwise, the replaced one will not be given. Is it clear? Both the points, section 46. Now, third point of section 46. Vedant Tiwari, that is, you have to see that the equity shareholders will be given the voting rights, but whatever the voting rights are given, out of total 100 voting rights of the company, 75% maximum can be given to the DBRs holders. You cannot exceed that limit. It's not mandatory that you have to give them 70. The rest are the equity shareholders are having the voting rights. Okay. Mr. Chavan, you're late for the class today. Your answers are coming now. Good. Yes, Mustafa, absolutely correct for the previous one. Deepika, everybody. Composition of board, Harsh Mishra, means whatever my board of directors are made up of. So if my board of directors does not have a managing director, my composition means how many people are there in the board of directors. Board is the combined name. Okay. Okay, Mr. Arun Kumar is asking, common shares are not converted to DVRs. In case of Tata Motors, they converted Tata Motors DVR into Tata Motors. Will this rule apply in this case, ma'am? So DVRs, Tata Motors issued the DVRs, child. There was no conversion. So conversion is now prohibited. As per the current rule, it is prohibited. Okay? You cannot convert them. If you want to issue DVRs, you will have to follow the entire procedure of section 43. Manner of issuing the duplicate certificates or the share certificate, time period. If you're an unlisted company, then within 3 months of the submission of complete documents. So you're a shareholder, Mr. A. You want to take a share certificate, has to be issued to you. You have applied for it. I'm an unlisted company. Within 3 months, your things will be done and you will get the duplicate share certificate. But if it is a listed company, SEBI compliance within 45 days from the submission of documents, you will get your share certificate. So MCQ based question, unlisted company है तो 3 months, listed company है तो 45 days. Highlighter use करते रहा करो study material में. You have to learn these points. समझने वाला था first page. Second page is learning part. So here comes your first form of this chapter. Where do you keep the record of renewed and duplicate share certificate in form number SH2? This register will be kept at the RO office of the company where register of members is kept. अभी मैंने बताया था section 88 में register of members बनता है where we have all the details of the members of the company and under whose custody this register is kept, under the custody or the control of company secretary. What are the 5 points over here? If you're an unlisted company, within 3 months issue the share certificate. If you're a listed company, within 45 days you will have to issue 3 months. 5 days. Form which is to be used SH2. Registered office where you will have to give the register of share certificates and it will be kept under the control of company secretary or anybody whom the board has authorized. Clear? A company may replace all the existing certificates by new certificates whenever there is a subdivision or consolidation without requiring the old or surrender. In the new certificate, mention the fact that it has been replaced. Now, there is a company, ABC Limited, and it has issued the shares of rupees 100 at the rate of rupees 10. Now, there are so many 100 shares of rupees 10. The company thought of consolidating and they said 200 shares at the rate of rupees 50. Has my share capital changed? देखना जरा 200 के अगर मैं 50 के कर दूं 200 multiplied by 50 or 100 multiplied by 10, is it the same answer? Yes or no? टू 250, 1000, कुछ गड़बड़ करिए क्या? 20 शेयर्स तो नहीं करने थे? Yes, it's not the same, children. Somebody saying yes, somebody saying no. So if I'm issuing 100 shares at the rate of 10 children, it's 1000. I'm consolidating. I have made 200 shares for rupees 5. It should not be 50. I'm dividing. I'm increasing the number of shares. I have to decrease the per price. Now it becomes 1000. देखो बता भी नहीं रहे. Yes कह रहे हैं. हाँ जी मैम. No change. Yes, Chavan, 20 into 5 will be correct. Thank God somebody's awake, not sleeping. Good, Deepika, Mustafa. No, we're not altering share capital, Mustafa. We are doing, yes, it is a part of alteration, but here we are just talking about subdivision and consolidation because alteration and reduction in itself is a huge topic which we'll be doing on day 3. So here I've done consolidation of shares. Now I will have to issue a new share certificate because the price has decreased per price rupees 5 for 200 shares. So company will issue a new share certificate. Or it has done subdivision. How does the subdivision happens? 100 shares at the rate of rupees 10. So I have divided it into 50 shares. So here I am dividing the share subdivision and accordingly I am varying the price. Here I am consolidating the shares and varying the price, but the total amount remains the same. That is the case of subdivision and consolidation, which we understand in detail when we do alteration of share capital. Company may charge a fees, but not more than rupees 50%. So company is issuing a new share certificate. It may charge a fees, but it should not be more than rupees 50. No fees is to be payable under the scheme of arrangement made by High Court or Central Government. If High Court and Central Government has made any scheme, then no fees is charged. Shares held in depository form. What is the meaning of depository? Means demat. The record of depository is considered to be the prima facie evidence of the interest of beneficial owner. Now, who is a depository and who is a beneficial owner? First of all, section 29 of previous chapter, listed companies demat में करती हैं. From 2nd October 2018, even all the unlisted companies, it is mandatory to issue the shares in demat form. ये सब तो तब था ना जब फिजिकल कॉपी था, अब तो है ही नहीं, अब तो मैंडेटरी है. ऐसे ही बोलता जा रहा है शेयर सर्टिफिकेट. अब चाहिए होते शेयर सर्टिफिकेट. इन्वेस्ट करके देखना म्यूचुअल फंड्स में, शेयर्स में. Wow, we are just doing this in accounts and morning chapter, internal reconstruction. So that's great, Mustafa. I'm glad that you students are able to connect and make a connection between. That's when I started this chapter, I told you it has a big connection with your accounts. So share capital and debentures is not something which is very, very new to you, but the terminology at times you still find that because law is little technical. So for the depository form, it means that the shares are held in demat form. Online होते हैं तो उसको हम depository form कहते हैं. जैसे members हैं, मेरा नाम है तो register of members. Depository के case में you're known as the beneficial owner. All your NSDL, CSDL, they do these depositories. In their record, your name is entered as the beneficial owner. They are holding the shares for you. So if your shares are held in the record of the depositories, that means that you are the beneficial owner of those shares. Now, the first penalty of this chapter, if the company tried to defraud and issues a duplicate share certificate. Company has already issued the share certificate to Mr. A and by mistake जो Mr. A वाला था, वो duplicate share certificate Mr. B को issue कर दिया. Company ने गलती करी है. 5 times the face value of the shares involved, minimum penalty, or 10 times of the face value of shares or rupees 10 crore. शेयर्स इशू कर रहे हो, किसी को ओनरशिप ऑफ द कंपनी के राइट्स दे रहे हो, गलती नहीं कर सकते हो शेयर सर्टिफिकेट. and the officer of the company who is under default, 447 लग जाएगा. 447 क्या होता है? याद आते हैं मुझे. टेस्ट ले. सुना है आपने सेक्शन 447? Raise your hands and answer me. You have not spoken a single word today. Raise your hands. Who is going to tell me what is section 447? सुना सुना लग रहा है. Very good, अनुभव. Answer करो. All right. Mustafa Harsh has raised their hands. That's great. Yes, Mustafa.
Ma'am, penalty of section 447 is 3 months. If public interest involved, then 3 months, 6 months to 10 years jail, and rupees
First of
3x
all, you
amount of
always
fraud.
see, Mustafa. The first word is correct that it is the company's penalty charge for fraud. Then you should always see there is a limit set for this. That is how I taught you. Remember? सीधा ही नहीं 3 months 6 months ऐसे नहीं. Limit बताओ पहले limit क्या है?
Limit 10 lakhs, less than 10 lakhs.
Okay. Yes, Harsh Mishra. What is the limit?
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Ma'am, up to 10 lakh or 1% of turnover, whichever is lower, maximum 50 lakh fine and imprisonment up to 5 years.
Okay.
10 lakh or 1% of turnover, then 3 times of amount of fraud and 6 months to 10 years of imprisonment. If public interest, then 3 times of amount of fraud and 3 year to 10 year imprisonment.
So some mistake you have done in the second case, just check it out. All right, very well tried. The limit was correct. Yes, Mr. Chavan.
Yes, ma'am. So section 447 is charged in case a person is guilty of fraud, and the penalty will be like if the amount involved is at least lower of 10 lakhs or 1% of turnover, and public interest is not involved, then person will face imprisonment up to ranging from 6 months to 10 years, and the fine will be up
If the
to
lesser
3
amount
times
you're
the
saying, for the lesser one you're saying? You're
Yes,
saying
ma'am.
for the lesser
For the
number.
lower,
For the
lower.
For lower, you're reaching 10 years. Are you sure?
Yes, ma'am. 6 months to 10 years.
Okay.
And the fine will be up to 3 times the amount involved. And if the public interest is involved, then prison will be up to from 3 years to 10 years. And fine will be up to 3 times the amount involved. And if its amount involved is less than 10% of the turnover or 1%, 10 lakhs or 1% of the turnover, and public interest is not involved, then jail up to 5 years or up to 50 lakhs of fine, or both.
Yes, now you have spoken correct. So the lower fine is 50 lakhs or 5 years jail. But for the higher amount is 6 months to 10 years. If no public interest, so हमने बोला था 6.5 कर देंगे 3 years, but months will get into years. So 3 years to 10 years, and both the cases, the fine remains the same. That is 3 times of the amount. All right, well done. Anubhav, you want to say anything? All right. Everybody has answered. Okay, good. And all those who have answered in the chat box also, that's great. Want to have a look? Remember section 447 penalty for fraud. This is what it was. Recalled? So if company is making any such fraud while issuing the share certificate, liability under 447 will exist, and the company will be charged 5 times of the face value up to maximum 10 times of the face value, or rupees 10 crore, whichever is higher. Share certificates are always issued in form SH1. Duplicate are issued in SH2, and the original is issued in SH1. All the books related to the share certificate will be preserved for the period of 30 years, And if there is a dispute, I am a shareholder and my share certificate is disputed, then permanently the records have to be maintained. All the certificates surrendered to the company, immediately the word cancelled should be written and they should be destroyed, subject to board resolution. So board of directors will sit together. They have seen this was the destroyed one. They will immediately cancel it. They will type cancelled and they will destroy it so that it cannot be misused by anyone. Company will issue only one share certificate on all those cases when it is held by more than one person jointly, and the delivery of share certificate to any one of them will amount to delivery of order. So there are 3 shareholders, A, B, and C, and they are jointly holding a single share certificate. If the share certificate is delivered to B, can we say that the delivery has been made to A and C also? Yes, ma'am, or no? Very good answer, Prerna, given for the previous one. Well done. Yes, Navneet, good. Delivery is said to has happened. Sabia Khan. Okay, Mustafa, Pujabi. Very good, everybody. Clear? So in case of joint shareholders, to any one of them, you can deliver. Miss Tanu, okay. Voting rights, we will not be doing today. Now variation is also very, very interesting topic, which I want to start afresh. I wanted to do sweat equity shares with you all today. In between, shall we have a quick revision of private placement? As I told you that I will be taking a test of private placement. So I am going to ask few questions. Anybody is having any doubts in private placement, first of all? So all these points we have done. So private placement, what were the points? The private company is going to send the invites through private placement, come offer application letter, not more than 200 people who are not included in 200 people. Jaldi se batao, aapki revision in private placement. All those people who are not counted in private while sending the group of invites to 200. Ashlesha. Employee stock option, Harsh, you're asking something, Harsh Kaur. Kavyajit, I hope I answered you on this one, that if default exists, then you cannot issue. Very good, Shamli Sharma, for the ESOPs. Okay, you were answering for this one for ESOPs. For qualified institutional buyers and employee stock options which are issued, they will not be counted in the limit of 200. Qualified institutional buyers means those which are defined by SEBI, the big people who are having the financial assets of worth more than 100 crores. And this limit of 200 is for every equity, preference and debentures. But there was an exclusion for NBFCs and HFCs. Will we count these qualified institutional buyers in the limit? Yes or no? Yes, ma'am, they will be counted. Very good, Harsh Kaur. Yes, they will be counted. And this limit of 200 is for every financial year, or in one financial year, I can two times issue. What is this limit of 200? Is it for each financial year or 6 monthly? Very good. This is limit is for each financial year. Excellent, all of you. So name of 200 people will be done and sent after the board resolution has been passed. Then this PPCO form will be sent to them within 30 days of the selection. SR will be passed. Notice of FSR has to be given. What was non-convertible debentures issued under this limit? Can anyone define the limit? 100% of paid up share capital, free reserves and security premium. If you're borrowing within this limit, you're raising the money, then no SR is required to be passed. And money shall only be received by check or demand draft. Can I receive by cash? Neither in case of section 39 nor in case of 42. I cannot receive it by cash. Within how many days of receiving the application money, the private placement shall do the allotment of days I should do the allotment of securities. Excellent. 60 days I should do the allotment of securities. If I was not done the allotment of securities, then within how many days under private placement I'm supposed to return back the money of the people? Refund shall be made in how many days? Absolutely correct. Within 15 days. Clear? And one MCQ question I'm going to ask you. Trident Limited is in the process of making private placement. It received the application money on 2nd March. It shall allot the securities by it failed and repay the application money, else repay the money with interest. So you all just given me the answer. Now you answer me in this question. 2nd March 2023, I have received the application. By what date I should return? 1st April, 16th April, I should allot the securities by 1st, and refund by 16th, and interest rate shall be 12%. और B 6 तो C तो होगा ही नहीं क्योंकि 6% तो हमारा था ही नहीं, हमारा इंटरेस्ट 12%. तो फर्स्ट 3 में से कोई ऑप्शंस देखनी है. Out of this date of 2nd March, you need to count 60 days. So 2nd of April, 2nd of May. What should be the correct date? 60 days you have to count, na, for making the allotment of the securities. So 1st of May is coming as 60 days. Within 15 days, you need to return the money. So all those who say B is the correct answer. Allotment will be made in 60 days, return the money in 15 days, and interest shall be. Clear? Remembered, everyone? Okay, one more MCQ. I wanted to do a revision from section 40. The time limit within which the copy of the contract for the payment of underwriting commission is required to be delivered to the registrar is? Yes, Nitin, you want to ask something? 3 days before the delivery of prospectus, at the time of delivery of prospectus, 3 days after the delivery, 5 days after the delivery. When do you need to give the copy of contract for the payment of underwriting commission? Remembered, recalled, or still wondering? A or B, which is correct? Somebody saying A, somebody saying B. Question number 7 में which option? You write 7th का A या B? C, D, we know it is never after that. Everybody goes with A? Correct? 7A. 3 days before delivery is the correct option. No, sorry, copy of the contract for the underwriting commission at the time of delivery of prospectus. I'm sorry, B is the correct option. 3 days before filing the prospectus was your shell prospectus. Under section 40, the copy of underwriting contract has to be filed along with the delivery of prospectus. When the prospectus goes for registration, at that time we have to file the copy of. As per the rules, a copy of the contract for the payment is delivered to the registrar at the time of delivery of prospectus for registration. So when you file the copy of prospectus, at the same time you need to file the copy of your underwriting contracts. Clear? Any doubts? Anyone wants to ask anything till here, or any doubts in private placement? Because now we'll not go back in private placement. Everybody remembered we took a test also of section 40 and section 42. I hope no more doubts. Anubhav wants to ask something. Yes, Anubhav.
Good evening, ma'am.
Yes.
Good evening,
Good evening. Good evening, beta.
ma'am. The question is कि ma'am prospectus में
Your voice is not coming, Anubhav. I can't hear you.
अभी सुना दे रहा है?
आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही बेटा.
अभी सुनाई दे रहा है?
हाँ बहुत कम आ रही है, बोलो बोलो।
और मैं पूछ रहा था कि प्रॉस्पेक्टस में अगर मिनिमम सब्सक्रिप्शन 70% है और सभी का अकॉर्डिंग 90% है, तो कितना कौन सा परसेंटेज को लेना चाहिए?
Anubhav, you'll need to type it down because I can't really hear you.
ओके
You need to type it down. Okay, Prajapati, great that there is no doubts. That's wonderful. Shamli also says the same. Good. Anubhav, just type it down. I'll read it and then I'll reply. Okay. Anybody else wants to ask anything? Now we are going to start with sweat equity shares. Now, can anyone tell me what is the meaning of sweat equity shares? Does it mean that somebody is going to throw away their sweat and then they get his shares for the sweat, like you do in the gymming, and you go and you just sweat out yourself? That means if you have been sweating out, you get the equity shares. Why the name sweat equity shares? What does sweat has to do in this? It says, yes, it has to do with it. It is the hard work which is connected with the word of sweat. If a director or an employee of the company is really working hard and they're providing any know-how means any knowledge or any rights which are related to intellectual property or any value additions they are doing, then the company may issue them equity shares at discount or for consideration other than cash. So they may be issued. So first general rule is, when you see section 52, equity shares can never be issued for discount. पढ़ा हुआ ना अपने accounts? Can we issue equity shares at discount? Yes or no in the chat box right now. अब कौन लिख रहा है मैम इन द प्रोस्पेक्टस? बेटा हैंड रेज कर दिया करो, इस पे गुम हो जाता है. किसने लिखा है? रिया ने लिखा है. Whosoever wrote the query of in the prospectus, write something again so that it tops up. What did I ask you? Yes. Can we issue the shares at discount? No, we cannot issue the shares at discount. Equity shares, very good, Geeta. Equity shares can never be issued at discount. But there are only two cases. One, when you're doing the restructuring, when the creditors needs to be paid the money, then you can do the equity shares at discount. Yes, Navneet Maurya, sweat equity shares is an exception to that rule. So whenever the company is issuing sweat equity shares, they can be issued at discount or for consideration other than cash. Means other than cash, also something else can be paid. So there was a director of the company who has been really working hard and wants to provide some knowledge to the company. Company in return can issue them sweat equity shares, 100 rupees. They can issue them for 80 rupees at a discount can be done. So for providing any intellectual power, know-how, or any of the kind of things, these sweat equity shares are issued. The basic rules, what are the conditions? That is what we're going to do in this. Yes, Abhinav is asking, in the prospectus, minimum subscription is 70%, but SEBI says 90%. Then what is to be? So what is written in the prospectus? Anubhav Malik, if you go as per the law, so what is written in the book right now? So whatever is the minimum subscription mentioned by in the prospectus, but SEBI has given us the basic. So if it is silent, then we will follow SEBI. But if it is written in the prospectus, then we will have to follow what is written in the prospectus. Clear, Anubhav? All right, good. So let's take a small break over here because I need fresh mind of yours because we will be completing sweat equity shares. हम आज complete करेंगे and if time permitted we'll talk other topic also. But ये अपने आप में बहुत बड़ा है. So let's take a small 5 minutes break here and then we will proceed. So we're taking a small break here. All right, students, let's get back to work. Sweat equity shares, section 54. So sweat equity shares are the shares which are issued to the directors or the employees of the company. So we will be understanding the definition of permanent employee only to those who can be issued the sweat equity shares. What are the conditions for issuing it? There are certain conditions, children, under section 54 which needs to be complied with, then only the sweat equity shares can be issued. Number one condition is the shares must be of that class which has already been issued. Say, for example, there are B equity shares which were issued on the stock exchange. There were C listed equity shares. Now I can issue only the shares. Now I can only issue B sweat equity shares, B type or C type. अगर A type of नहीं है तो A type of sweat equity shares नहीं हो सकते. Only the class which has already been issued. There is a particular class category. All these things are as per SEBI. We don't have to go into detail. We just simply have to know that the shares should be of that class which has already been issued. SR needs to be passed. Now, children, today we did one topic under section 43 that was of DVRs. What resolution was required to be passed in case of DVRs? SR or OR? Jaldi batao. For DVRs, SR is required or OR? Absolutely correct. Yes, Sony, you want to ask something, you raise your hand and then you put it down. You can raise your hand if you want to ask anything. Absolutely correct, everybody. OR is required in case of DVRs. And in case of sweat equity shares, SR is required. The resolution which will be going along with the notice will specify what is the number of shares we are issuing, what is the current market price consideration, and what class of shares will be issued to the directors to whom such shares are to be issued. Who are the directors, what category of employees, किसको हम issue कर रहे हैं, कितने shares issue करने हैं, what is the consideration. All the details have to be given under the resolutions. The rights, limitations and restrictions for the time being applicable to equity shares. So, वहां पे भी ऐसा ही था. Same rights, obligation, limitations, equity shares वाली होती थी DVRs को. यहाँ पे भी same rights, restrictions which are applicable to equity shares will also be applicable to the sweat equity shares. The holders of sweat equity shares rank pari passu with other equity shares. Pari passu means on equal footing. If equity shares are getting a dividend of 15%, sweat equity share will also get a dividend of 15%. Whatever rights and obligations are the holders of sweat equity shares, they're all the rights are the pari passu with the other equity shares. This means it's on the equal footing. They are at par with them. मतलब कोई फर्क नहीं है sweat equity and normal equity shares के rights. Now there are certain rules which are given over here. The special resolution which authorizes the sweat equity shares shall be valid for making the allotment. So company passed the SR, company held the general meeting and they passed the special resolution that we are going to issue the sweat equity shares to employee XYZ. There are 3 employees to whom we'll be issuing say sweat equity shares. So this resolution was passed on 1st October 2023. By when the allotment of securities should be done? This resolution, which is passed on 1st October 23, is valid for 12 months period, means it is valid up till 1st October 2024. Within this time period of 1 year, allotment of securities should be done to Mr. X, Y, and Z. Now comes the most important part of sweat equity shares. What is the percentage? What is the maximum amount or the limit for which these sweat equity shares can be issued? It says 15% of the paid up share capital or 5 crores of the shares, whichever is higher, company can issue sweat equity shares for that. 15% of the existing paid up equity capital or 5 crore, whichever is higher, that can be the maximum limit of for sweat equity shares. Let's take an example. There is a company which has issued 10 crores of equity share capital and 15 crore of preference share capital. 10 crores of equity share capital and 15 crores of preference share capital. Please calculate the limit of maximum sweat equity shares. Everybody do it. Calculate the maximum limit of sweat equity shares. Everybody calculate. Yes, absolutely. 1.5 crore. How many of you have written that? Or 5 crore, whichever is higher. So 5 crore will be the limit. Absolutely correct. So do we need to include preference share capital of 15 crore also for the limit? The answer is no, because the limit is 15% of the paid up equity share capital or 5 crore, whichever is less. The students who have done 25 ka 15%, that is wrong. Those who have done 10 ka 15% or 5 crore is the higher limit. That is correct. So that means, can the company issue 3 crore sweat equity shares? Yes. Can the company issue 2 crores of equity shares, sweat equity? Yes. Can the company issue 6 crore of equity shares? No. Why? Because the maximum limit is 5. Now, this is one part of the story. Another part is the sweat equity shares cumulative, including all the previous issues, shall not exceed 25% of the paid up equity capital of the company at any time. वो कहता है जितनी भी आप स्वेट इक्विटी शेयर्स इशू कर चुके हो प्रीवियस वंस को भी मिलाकर, इट शुड नॉट बी मोर देन 25%. लेट्स अज्यूम द पेड अप कैपिटल इज अगेन 10 करोड़, एंड व्हाट इज द 25% ऑफ 10 करोड़? 2.5%, 2.5 crore. So maximum limit will be 2.5 crore and not 5 crores. So two limits you'll have to learn. One is 15% of the paid up equity capital of 5 crore, whichever is higher. But the overall cap is that, including all the previous issues, the sweat equity shares at any time cannot be more than 25% of the paid up capital of the company. And the third point is, if it's a startup company, then the limit shall not exceed 50% of the paid up share capital up to 10 years. So if you're a new startup company, you have started your business, so up till first 10 years, you can issue the sweat equity shares up till 50% of the paid up share capital. So can we say that for the startups, preference shareholder capital will also be counted? Yes or no? बंद करके देखती हूँ because मुझे आपके आंसर्स नहीं मिले. Can we say no? Savya Khan, yes, correct. So for the startups, preference share capital will also be counted. Let me show you from the study material also. Section 54, sweat equity shares. Sweat means the equity shares were issued to the directors or employees at a discount. They are issued to keep the employees motivated. You are making them partner in the growth of the company. आप employee को दे रहे हो ना, shares दे रहे हो, जैसे आप ESOPs देते हो, वैसे ही आप sweat equity shares देते हो, ताकि it is a different concept from ESOPs, but you have to remember that it is different from ESOPs in many ways. ESOP is different, totally different. But it is a kind of a thing, like you give them employee stock options, you also give them sweat equity shares for the value addition that they are providing to the company to motivate them. We are making them partner in the growth of the company. So all these points we have done, it is on equal footing and already issued. SR has to be passed. SR will give the details. Sweat equity shares shall be for the listed companies. Rules of SEBI has to be followed. For an unlisted company, Rule 8 of the Companies Act has to be followed. A company in commenced the business on 9th November 2022. It can issue sweat equity shares only after 8th November. There is no condition such. ऐसा तो कुछ है ही नहीं. देखो कितना कंफ्यूज कर रहा है. कह रहे कि कंपनी 9 नवंबर को शुरू हुई, क्या वो स्वेट इक्विटी शेयर्स 8 नवंबर एक साल बाद ही दे सकते हैं? नो मैम, ऐसी कोई कंडीशन नहीं है. कंडीशन है that it is only valid for 1 year after the resolution has been passed. So this has been omitted. You don't have to read this. Now, who is an employee? Very, very important concept of sweat equity share. किस employee को sweat equity shares issue हो सकते हैं? A permanent employee of the company who has been working in India or abroad. There is Mr. Karan, who is working with my company, which is in Delhi, but I have an office in Singapore. Mr. Karan is placed in that Singapore office and he's a permanent employee of my company. Can I issue sweat equity shares to Mr. Karan, who is placed in Singapore office? Jia Bachchan, pari passu means equal rights have to be given to all these people. Absolutely correct. Okay, clear? So yes is the correct answer. Everybody has given the correct answer. A director of a company, whether a whole-time director or not. So even if he's not a whole-time director, then so we can issue him sweat equity shares. An employee or a director of either holding or subsidiary of a company in India or outside India. So what question they will give you? Mr. R is an employee of a company. Mr. R is an employee of there is a company, ABC company, which has a subsidiary, DEF. Mr. R is the employee of my company who is working in USA. And my subsidiary company, Mr. DEF, is having Mr. S, an employee who is working in UK. So Mr. R को भी हम दे सकते हैं sweat equity shares, whether in India or outside India. हम कंपनी के सब्सिडरी के एम्प्लॉय या डायरेक्टर या होल्डिंग कंपनी के, एबीसी की होल्डिंग कंपनी है पीक्यूआर, उसके डायरेक्टर या एम्प्लॉय को भी हम दे सकते हैं. सब्सिडरी के डायरेक्टर एम्प्लॉय को भी दे सकते हैं. इन इंडिया भी दे सकते हैं, आउटसाइड इंडिया भी दे सकते हैं. रीड इट एंड टेल मी इफ एनी डाउट. तीनों पॉइंट्स पढ़ लो. व्हाट इज द डेफिनेशन ऑफ एम्प्लॉय? व्हिच आर द एम्प्लॉयज टू whom sweat equity shares can be given? The important condition is he should be a permanent employee of my company, whether in India or outside India. He can be a director, whether full-time director or not, and employee or director as defined by subsidiary and holding. Clear? Next class, I'll be asking important questions. So revise DVRs and sweat equity nicely. Now, what is the meaning of value addition? Some economic benefit should be coming to the company from an expert or professional. That is the meaning of value addition. ऐसे नहीं कि हमने sweat equity दे दी. I am getting something in return. Providing know-how or making available the intellectual property rights to whom sweat equity shares by such person to whom it is issued, and the consideration is not paid or included in the normal remuneration payable under the contract of employment. So all these conditions have to be seen, that there's some value added has been given by the person to whom these sweat equity is issued. Period of validity is not more than 12 months. Maximum limit यहाँ दी हुई है बेटा 15% of the existing paid up equity share capital आप लिख लोगे यहाँ पे, और maximum 5 crore whichever is higher, but the maximum limit including all the previous issues will not exceed 25% of the paid up capital. However, for the startups, it is 50% of the paid up share capital up to 10 years. Is that clear? Limits are clear to everyone. मैं अभी 5 मिनट बाद आपको दूंगी limits लिखने के लिए chat box में. But the lock-in period is 3 years. That means you cannot withdraw your money or sell your shares for a period of 3 years. There is a lock-in. whomsoever directors and employees sweat equity is issued, it will be locked and it will not be transferable for a period of 3 years. Sweat equity is to be issued at a price determined by the registered value as per the fair price. Now, what is the meaning of registered value? So we think that whenever we are giving certain assets, sometimes sweat equity are given for cash or for a consideration other than cash. So when any asset is being given, so you will see what is the intellectual property rights or know-how that the employee is giving to you, and accordingly you will have to issue the shares. So you have to hire a valuer who will do the fair price determination. He will tell you, an expert valuer, that this is the price. Accordingly, the sweat equity shares will be issued according to the price that you are giving to the company. Okay, that is the meaning of fair valuation system. Quoted market price are the best evidence of fair value and should be used where they exist to measure the financial instrument. So simple कह रहे हैं, जो भी market price active rate चल रहा है वही हम consider करें. The valuation of intellectual property or know-how shall be carried out by the registered value, who will give proper report to the board of directors with the justification of the valuation, that this is the know-how, this is the value addition that we have done. The proper registered value will prepare a report and he will submit to the board of directors. Board of directors उसको verify करेगा, check करेगा कि क्या ये सही है, इस location पे इस property की यही value बैठती है या नहीं. Everything will be analyzed. Where the sweat equity is issued for non-cash consideration on the basis of this valuation report from the registered value, then such non-cash consideration, how it shall be treated in the books of accounts? If it is a fixed asset, then you take it to the balance sheet. And if it is other than fixed asset, then you record it as an expense in the profit and loss account. So what are the two modes for non-cash consideration? If it is an asset, then you will have to carry it to the balance sheet. Then you will have to carry it to the balance sheet. So if it is not over there, if it is not as an asset, then you will record it as an expense in the profit and loss account. Is that clear to everyone? So last 5 minutes are left. Immediately write down what are the maximum limits of the sweat equity shares. Everyone has to write it down in the chat box. What is the maximum limit of the sweat equity shares? So children, this chapter is very, very lengthy. It's not at all tough, but it's very lengthy. So keep revising along with it. If you're doing DVRs, we have done, read it, revise it. What is the participating, non-participating reference shares? What is cumulative, non-cumulative? सारे revise कर लेना, notes बना लेना शुरू से. Stock and share से शुरू करना, जिस तरह से पढ़ाया है उसी flow में आपने revise करना है. Secondly, you will learn about all the provisions of sweat equity shares. So what is the maximum cap, Geeta? What is the maximum cap that we can have for the sweat equity? It is 25% of the paid up equity capital. Shilesh, Savya. Good, only the equity. Everybody has written the correct limits. Shudi Kumari, Ria, Jaya, everybody. Yes, Ria. It is by the employee to the company. It will be recorded as an expense if it is other than asset. Otherwise, it is an asset. Yes, Anubhav, you can ask me your doubt. If you still have any doubt, you can type it. Now, anybody has last 2-3 minutes are left. Anybody has any doubts? Please feel free to ask your doubts. Raise your hands and if you want to ask. Jaya, I will explain you in detail in the next class about this point, because first you learn, all of you, because many of you will be coming up at the same time. Okay. Yes, Anubhav, you can do those from my notes. It's absolutely correct. No harm in that. 3.40 illustration में minimum subscription 80% follow होना चाहिए. Answer में दिया है minimum subscription has not been received. अगर company is penalized by the code for valuation तो वो company still share issue कर सकती है क्योंकि G point में अगर आप पेनलाइज्ड हो तो आप नहीं इशू कर सकते हो डीवीआर. ठीक है अनुभव. And for that, for page number 3.40, he's written that the minimum subscription should have been received will be 80%. They have taken the call in that case that the minimum subscription as per SEBI has not been received before. So you have to write the assumption that we are taking that we are following the SEBI guidelines over there. Okay, Anubhav, that's why they have not taken. Yes, Kuldeep.
Yeah, good afternoon, ma'am. Madam, we have to reply as in line with what is mentioned in the study material, correct, no?
Yes, see, you can, the way I show you the question answers, the way I've simplified it in my presentations, you have to write the provisions, facts, and conclusion. If it is justified, it is not necessary to write word to word, learn it and write once you have understood it. But the legal provisions we expect you to write in somewhat similar.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Yes, Mangla.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Ma'am, this is my first live classes as I got registered only in the last week.
Oh, that's great. Welcome to the class.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am. But I'm really facing very tough in joining the classes because I have a BOS mobile app, but wherein I can't mute, unmute, or chat.
Mute, unmute is not allowed by you. You have to raise your hands. I only give you permission.
No, ma'am. There in the BOS app, in the through app when I attend the classes, no, there is no option only to raise a hand or anything.
ओके वेट मनीष सर आप इनकी क्वेरी हैंडल करेंगे कि इनको थोड़ी दिक्कत आ रही है जूम में लॉग इन करते हुए. So you can just address your query in the chat box to Manish sir, technical.
Ma'am, may I?
Say that.
Hello.
Ajit sir, are you there?
Then,
I can't.
Student, then why are you not joining from BS Knowledge portal?
Yeah, this is from BS portal only, sir.
Yeah.
Website, from the website I'm doing. After 2-3 attempts, it's kicking me back, saying that time is out. And
I think your mobile app is not updated. That's why that is the reason. Hello, students.
Yes, Mangla. Your mobile app might not be updated, Bacha. It's not updated. That's why you're having this problem.
If you are still facing problem, if you updated your mobile app and still you are facing the problem, then mail to me.
All right, Mangla. I think I will write down to her in the chat box only. She's not able to hear us. All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your help.
Thank you, ma'am.
Anubhav, I'll take up your query in detail in the class once again. Page number 340, I have noted down what you have written. I'm just looking. The illustration you are saying, right? All right, page number 340, illustration. No. Anybody else having any queries? All right. Mangla, I hope your doubt is clear now.
no, ma'am, while talking, it just again, it kicked me back, like disconnected through
So
some.
sir said that you need to update your app and then it will get.
Update the Zoom.
Yeah.
But I don't know the link to,
Ma'am, not Zoom, it's mobile app.
Mobile app you need to update.
You have to just update your mobile app, okay? If still you are facing this problem, then mail to me.
Mail ID, sir.
It's Ajit, AJEET.
AJEET.
I'm writing on chat.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm not sure is it visible to me. I'll just check it, sir.
No. I'm writing.
Sir
I
is
will
writing
send
for
on
you.
chat.
You'll get the message, beta.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, students. I hope no doubts now. Now you revise your work, whatever I've given you, and be prepared for day after tomorrow's class. Okay. All right, Mangla. We see you in the Wednesday's class now. All the
Okay,
best.
ma'am. Thank you so much.
Okay, sir has written in the main chat. You can see
Yes,
that.
yes, ma'am. I could see that. Thank you so much.
All right. All right. Thank you, students. Good night. See you all on Wednesday.